Hello and welcome back everybody to the Foodbuild factory, where today we're going to take a look at the Stalker. That's the guy you can see on screen right now. And as always, I'm going to show you some gameplay in the first part of the video, and in the second part of the video we're going to take a look at the perks, mutations, equipment and everything else. So let's get right into it. What this character is going to be about is, you probably clicked on the video and thought, well, Stalker, he doesn't really want to try the Stalker's effect, does he? But if that's what you thought, you're actually completely right here. I really wanted to see or utilize the Stalker's effect on a weapon for once. This is something I wanted to do for quite a while now. I had this idea for a build for probably more than half a year now, and for those of you who possibly don't really know what I'm talking about here, the Stalker's effect is probably one of the most notorious legendary effects in the game for the simple reason that it's quite trashy. To be honest, no one really likes it. Basically, for 99% of the player base, it's instantly a script weapon if you're actually rolling something with Stalker's effect. And in fact, I have never seen a single person using a Stalker's weapon, other than maybe in when you're low level or something and you get a good faster fire rate or explosive weapon that happens to have the Stalker's effect on it. But what I'm talking about, no one really goes out of the way to buy a Stalker's weapon. And well, why I wanted to take a look at it is because, to be honest, on paper the effect isn't super bad or anything. It's actually quite an interesting idea. It's just, yeah, it has a few problems. And don't expect this build to be anything particularly great or anything. This whole build was basically more of a test of the effect. So what are the problems with the effect? Well, to clarify what the problems are, we basically just want to say for short term here what the effect actually is, and it is that if we are not in combat, we are getting 100 extra VATs at the disadvantage of 50% more VATs AP cost. Overall, this is quite hard to get behind in my opinion, because on paper it looks very straightforward, but once you're thinking about it, Bethesda really shown a bit of a problem describing things in this game here. In terms of, yeah, most things are very vague. Plus 100, is it 100%? Does it mean that your VATS accuracy is doubled? Does it mean you're getting 100% all the time? If that's not really clear, then another thing is, what exactly does it mean when it says not in combat? Does it mean always in stealth? I personally for the longest while thought that it meant you had to be actually hidden and not in caution. So yeah, there's a lot of vague descriptions here, but I think from just testing the weapon, I'm pretty confident to say I figured out how the weapon works. Obviously, if any of you knows the data miner or is one themselves and can prove me wrong, please do so. But what I feel like is happening here is that if you are either hidden or in caution, the effect does double your actual VATS hit chance. So let's say you have a 10% VATS hit chance while sneaking and you're not detected. That becomes a actual 20% hit chance. That's what seems to be the case here, and with 50 more AP cost, it seems to just basically use twice as 50% more AP cost, which is basically the most crippling thing here. And what I was always a bit what I felt was a bit odd is that it's not like a whole bunch of legendary effects in this game have drawbacks. So there's actually quite a few good effects that don't really have any significant drawbacks. Think about stuff like anti-armor, for example, or Furious. Those are very solid effects and they don't really have any negative effects. Um, and Stalkers, out of all the effects that could have had a drawback, is one of the ones that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me. I think the effect would in no way be overpowered if it didn't have any drawback, if we just could consume the same amount of AP than we would do without the effect, and it's still probably no one would use it. Still, I don't get it. But overall, that's been a lot of talk here. Let's talk a little bit of how the game plays out here. So what I wanted to do is basically, since we're having this kind of precision buff, I really wanted to double down on that. You see we're using a scope, not a reflex sight, and basically there were two approaches here. Either using the extra VATS hit chance that we get from the Stalker's effect, if provided it works by the way, to utilize maybe no scope whatsoever for some reason. What we could do is we could reduce the drawbacks of the weapon quite significantly. For example, if we were going for a commando build here, we could basically cut our AP cost in half and then doubling it again. So we could basically mitigate our complete debuff from the legendary effect. We could also use a reflex sight in order to bring down our AP cost a little bit. But actually what I went for is, since we are going for precision, I went all in using the scope. And after all, I still feel it can be beneficial. I'm sorry by the way if I'm mumbling a lot and stuttering. It's really a bit hard to bring you the point I want to make about this weapon. The Stalker's effect, yeah, it's a nice premise, but it just really doesn't work out well in this game. It's too flawed and doesn't offer enough. So what it does well. I feel certainly that I actually have a way better time hitting stuff. So basically, the moment I can see anything or I can lock onto something in VATS, I can feel confident to fight it. I can feel confident to start shooting and actually hitting it. So that's nice, at least. It works quite well if you're going against smaller targets. If you're clearing ghouls, for example, you really can fight over long ranges. The thing is, first and foremost, the situations where this effect shines in are the ones that really aren't too tough to begin with, so you don't really need a advantage in this situation. And the other thing is that I'd still just use something else, to be honest, because there are other ways to be very precise in this game. Having high perception isn't hard to do. There are quite a few buffs you can use. Then, as always, you can just go for a low health build and have ridiculous stats. And basically, comparing this build here to a pretty generic bloodied rifleman build, sure, on some situations I would argue that we are maybe a bit more precise than we would be with a bloodied build, but not by much, to be honest. And really, 99% of the situations, I wouldn't think that we are actually having a big benefit overall. And lastly, yeah, we do miss out on a complete buff we could have from a other effect. Think about stuff like junkies, bloodied, anti-armor, two-shot. There's a ton of stuff that would work better here, but overall, I think since I was going for a stealth and VATS crits approach, I mean, stealth is very obvious, otherwise you don't really need the effect at all. But if you're combining this weapon effect with stealth and VATS, it can make a really fun experience. You're actually very precise, you're really this super marksman. But one thing that really, yeah, unnerves me a little bit is just that while it works out on most situations, you can really get into a situation where you run out of AP and that's when you're starting to struggle a little bit. So as you can see here, even with low VATS hit chances, we can actually efficiently go for these enemies. We're not bad at all, but to be honest, this isn't really all that beneficial. Usually if we were going for something else, we maybe would miss one or two shots here and there, but we have a semi-automatic weapon here. We could just use a follow-up shot very easily, and overall what you're doing is, in some situations you're saving a few shots here and there because you're not having so much misses. But on the other hand, once you're fighting tougher enemies, which for example we're going to do here, super mutants that are basically here we're going into the realm of enemies where the difference between this build here and a bloodied one or a anti-armor one really starts to work out, since once we're having some adrenaline we can two-shot these guys relatively easily, but overall you're needing a little bit more shots than you would with another build. So ultimately you're not really saving any ammo by hitting more reliably. But enough of this bad talk about the build. Let's actually talk a little bit about what I enjoyed here. And that is, yeah, you really... Surprisingly, I felt like I was actually doing a very unique build, even though it plays out very similarly to others. But being so super precise was actually a lot of fun for me. And in terms of role-playing, it makes a lot of sense. It's actually just something I would have loved to have in another game, in another Fallout game. If I don't know anything about stuff like Bloodied or so on, and you would give me a weapon in Fallout New Vegas, for example, that does the same thing that the Stalker's effect does, I would actually think it's a great effect. I would actually think it's quite cool to have. So basically the biggest flaw of the build is that it is in a game where you just have better options. This is obviously something that's quite a common problem in this game here. There's a ton of stuff that can be really fun. You just have to force yourself to use it, other than using a more meta build, which basically the whole channel is about this. But it just really becomes very apparent on this here build, because I always have the bloodied build in mind. The only other way to achieve this kind of precision here is to have a very dedicated bloodied build with somewhere among the lines of, let's say, 30 to 35 perception. The thing is, if you're doing a bloodied build though, you have more damage on top of that, and not only that, but rather than having less shots to work with, like we do have with Stalker's effect here, you actually have to, yeah, you actually have twice as much AP to use. So it's just, a bloodied build would just be better in so many ways here. But if you really just want to do this here for role-playing purposes, I can just advise you to. It's actually fun. In a lot of situations I was really feeling like the build achieved what I wanted it to. Especially running around Whitespring was very cool. I mean, to be honest, in closer proximities, let's see here, no, it's no colorful one. In closer proximities, obviously the effect isn't all that useful anymore compared to other builds, because, yeah, with a rifleman build you're really precise when it comes to close to mid ranges like we're having here. But mid to long ranges, I really feel like I was enjoying the build a bit more. I actually carried a anti-armor VATS crit fixer with me. Basically the same mods, the only difference was that I was using a reflex sight, so the other fixer I was carrying with me was basically how you would mod it in usual situation. Talking about aligned barrel, aligned barrel, a powerful receiver, and all of that jazz, and a reflex sight, so maxed out for perfect AP usage. And yeah, there were definitely situations where I preferred to use the Stalker's effect. So perfect situation is basically when you have relatively spread out enemies, but you have a large amount of them, and they are all in relatively long proximity. So here we could see what the build is able to do. The only problem is, as you can see here, we're running out of AP very fast. On this occasion we got lucky here, getting Grim Reaper Sprint to proc. If that's the case, you can really have a lot of fun here. Basically, if there's anything I could say about the build is, I would definitely enjoy using it every now and then, if it wasn't for the heavy debuff to our AP usage. Yet again, as I said, you could just go for a commando build. There wasn't any particular reason I didn't do so. I was actually trying it for a while. Definitely worked better. I think I don't have to tell you that. Obviously, the commando build is always the better option compared to the rifleman. But I just wanted to go down this route for the simple reason that, as I said, I really wanted to nail down this precise marksman character. In a perfect world, I would actually even have gone for a hunting rifle or something like that, but that would probably be too punishing. I think just by virtue of having a fixer, which is a good weapon to begin with, and having a powerful Vets crit build, we can get away with using an effect like the Stalker's effect here and actually enjoy it for what it is. So on this occasion here, with this particular Super Mutant, we were a bit unlucky when it comes to the hit chance, but overall you can see we're really nailing down the shots. Now, you should compare it to another rifleman. Basically, if you don't have the Stalker's effect, you can get similar results, but still playing with this weapon felt a bit more precise. Not sure how often I said that during the video. I really think like this is one of the ways you should just mute and see how it turns out. But yeah, it's just really warm. Not sure how it is where you are, but in Germany actually we have somewhere around 30 degrees Celsius, that is, which may not be a lot for you, but for me it's fucking horrible warm. And yeah, during recording I can't use my ventilator, so I'm really not in the best mood when it comes to my mental health, just because it's so warm. Anyways, guys, this was basically the video. I hope you enjoyed it so far. Now, as I said, I did actually enjoy it. Was quite a fun experience. Now, I would still prefer something else. I would probably never choose to go for a Stalker build primarily, but just using it for fun, or basically where I could see it being useful, is if you're just having a Stalker's weapon somewhere in your stash and you go for maybe a looting trip where you just go to farm some resources in some low level areas. Then I could really see how this character here would be interesting. What I gotta say though is I really like the combination of the apparel here and how everything turned out in terms of the visuals here. Could be from another game actually. Doesn't really look like a Fallout character, to be honest. Looks more like something out of the Metro series, or even its namesake, the Stalker series, possibly. But yeah, we're now going to take a look at the mutations. So here they are. We do have Adrenal Reaction, Bird Bones, Eagle Eyes, Egghead, Marsupial, and Speed Demon. Nothing out of the ordinary here. Adrenal Reaction and Egghead, they are just give or take. If you don't want to use them, don't use them. They don't really add anything particular to our character. They are just personal preference, to be honest. You could definitely live without them. You don't need them, but they can benefit you. So there's that. The important mutations here are Bird Bones, Eagle Eyes, Egghead, and Speed Demon. Now I said Egghead. Bird Bones, Eagle Eyes, Marsupial, and Speed Demon for better jump height, more movement ability, faster reload, more perception, and more crit damage. Very obviously here, the perception even further improves our Vet's accuracy. Having the better crit damage, always nice. We're doing a crit on every second shot. because we have 23 agility, 23 luck, and you're gonna see in a second the effects on the fixer. So there's that. Basically very important here. Eagle Eyes, one of the best mutations for our build, and then we do have Bird Bones giving us extra agility, which helps with better sneaking, and in addition just giving us a few more action points to work with, which we can really use since we have a significant debuff to our action point usage from our legendary effect. So there's that. And then we go on to take a look at our equipment. Here it is, our fixer. It is a Stalker fixer with additional VATS hit chance and VATS critical meter filling faster. So as you can see here, in terms of the weapon, I think there's nothing you can do to improve VATS hit chance here. I try to use every modification that boosts our range and our accuracy. So there's that, and then we do have VATS hit chance, which in and of itself is a very good effect. We'll even get a quite significant buff in the near future, making it a 50% better hit chance. Then we do have the Stalker's effect. So yeah, if you're going to hit something, then it is with this weapon here. And basically the only combat effective perk we do have here is that our VATS critical meter fills 15% faster. Now I've shown this in the past. With the combination of critical savvy as well as 23 luck and this legendary effect, we can on average get a critical on every second shot. So sometimes it's visually glitched out, it doesn't really the critical bar doesn't really move so fast, and every now and then it just lags a little bit, but usually you can refill your critical meter within a single shot. So there's that. Not a lot to talk about that I didn't already said in the video, and yeah, let's take a look at our equipment in terms of armor. So as you can see here, I think except for one single piece, they're all broken, which I didn't really mind with, for the simple reason that yeah, we're a stealth build, we're very squishy to begin with, so having a few resistance points here or there, I didn't really give a fuck here. So we do have 4 chameleon pieces, 1 intelligence, and 3 of them should be with extra luck, just to get the high luck we need here. And then we have an additional piece, a left arm with extra luck and harder to detect while sneaking. Unyielding we're not actually using, I just wanted to quickly use another arm that gave me +1 luck, so I don't have to rely on buffs in order to get my luck up to 23. Over time you could definitely replace some of these things with a P refresh, would be a very good addition to this build, would make it way more combat effective. I just had to throw something together relatively quickly, and on this character here I don't have a ton of legendary luck so far, so I had to rely heavily on using armor to boost myself up to 23. But yeah, that's it. And obviously this would be chameleon, would be better, but we didn't really have a problem with stealth, as you probably saw. For those of you who are interested, I do have the Brotherhood Special Ops mask from the Daily Ops, and then this here was a Fallout First reward, I think, but as you probably know, there's a Daily Ops version as well, which I just didn't bother to buy. I even saw it in a vendor today for like 500 caps or so, but I didn't really bother. Then we do have the shielded wall jumpsuit. Obviously a harness or something would be better just to give us a bit more action points, but I actually needed the 2 luck instead of 1 extra luck from the harness, so therefore I went with the wall suit. And yeah, let's take a look at the perks. Here we do have 2 strength, which we use for rank 2 of bandolier, pretty straightforward. We're using ballistic ammo, so in order to carry all of that stuff, we do have bandolier here. If you don't need it, take something else, but I think 1 perk point should be okay to spend here. Or, sorry, 2 perk points. Then, one of our most important stats here, we do have Perception, which is filled with 3 ranks of maxed out Rifleman, 1 rank of maxed out Concentrated Fire, and 1 rank of maxed out Tank Killer. So usually what I would do here, instead of rank 3 of Concentrated Fire, I would go for rank 1 of Concentrated Fire, and in addition use rank 2 of Ground Pounder, just to have a bit more reload speed. Not that we're using the hipfire accuracy for anything, but simple reason here why I went for rank 3 of Concentrated Fire is since we are already doubling down on Perception and VATS hit chance and everything like that, I really thought like it would be fitting to the character if he really went down that route fully. So we're basically min-maxed, if that makes sense, for just hitting our targets. So yeah, that's why I went for rank 3 of concentrated fire. Works relatively well with semi-automatic weapons. So yeah, that one super mutant where I needed like 3 or 4 shots to hit him. That was really the exception. Most enemies, at least on the second shot, you're hitting them. Then we go on to endurance, which is very low at only 3, and we use it for fireproof. So not a lot of investment here. Very, very much a dump stat for us. And so is charisma. I would love to have tenderizer here instead of lone wanderer. But I really needed to have every single bit of AP refresh I could get from from perks, since I don't actually have the ability to use powered pieces for my armor. So therefore, yeah, it had to be lone wanderer. So tenderizer would have given me a little bit more of a damage buff in most situations, but as you saw probably, due to the fact that we are a stealth build with relatively high fire rate, damage output isn't really our problem actually. It's quite quite okay. There's not a lot to talk about. Fighting the Scourge Beast went down really well, really smooth. So within a single magazine you can take down one of them. I also fought a Sheep Squatch while preparing the video, and went also down relatively easy. I chucked 1 or 2 Nuka-Colas just to help with my AP refresh during the fight, but other than that, yeah, there wasn't really any problem. Then we do have intelligence at 9, so first aid I would advise you, just because since we're having so little HP, we actually use quite a bit from even minor hits, so having to use not so much Stimpaks is a nice thing to have. And then we do have 2 perks here, sorry, Nerd Rage and Batteries Included. Those are basically just filler perks. What happened here is I switched my legendary perks around a little bit, and I didn't really know where to spend my perk points, so ultimately I just stuffed them into intelligence. And firstly, my build looked a little bit like this, and yeah, I just, due to shuffling around my legendary perks a little bit, I got 1 more perk point out of the whole situation, and ended up with 9 intelligence. And yeah, I don't have anything here to use. I could have used Scrapper or um, what is it, Chemist, but those don't do anything to us, so I ultimately went down with Nerd Rage and Batteries Included, just to give me a little bit more um, carry capacity, not directly but indirectly, by making energy ammo way less. And Nerd Rage is a nice little threshold, especially on such a glass cannon character that's so squishy. Basically, if you're caught up in some explosion from a legendary robot or something, this can save our ass, so it doesn't really hurt to have here. More important though, we do have agility here, which I only had the ability to have rank 2 of Action Boy, sadly, so I had to went with that. Obviously I would have loved to use rank 3, but that's all the points we had here. And then we do have Covered Operative, Sneak and Escape Artist. Those 3 perks are very straightforward. We're a complete stealth character, so basically those are a must-have in my opinion. Not a lot to talk about here. Rank 1 of Gun Fu, this was basically the thing I was considering, not using Gun Fu at all and using rank 3 of Action Boy, but Gun Fu works really well if you are working on a bit further ranges, so therefore I didn't really want to miss it, and yeah, that's why I ended up with rank 1 of Gun Fu and rank 2 of Action Boy. And lastly, we do have rank 5 of Adrenaline, which is always just nice to have. In a perfect world, what I would have done is use rank 4 of Adrenaline actually, rank 1 of Gun Fu, and rank 3 of Action Boy, so basically just go down 1 rank with Adrenaline. But I didn't really feel like it was justified to use 4 level ups in order to get a additional Adrenaline at rank 4, just to do this one build here, and thought, yeah, okay, rank 2 of Action Boy does the job. And then we do have luck here. Very importantly, it has to be at 15, buffed additionally by our armor pieces as well as our legendary luck, but you're gonna see that in a moment. So we do have Grim Reaper Sprint, very important on this occasion. I wouldn't want to live without it. Better criticals, also very important. As I said, we're trying to get a critical on every second shot. So basically half of the time you're having a 40% damage buff. Yeah, we're gonna take that. And then we do have starch genes, very obviously. And this was super stupid here. I left super duper in instead of bloody mess. So yeah, keep that in mind. Just for a little bit more damage here. And this is the most important perk, critical savvy. This we need in order to do a critical on every second shot. Not quite sure how I missed super duper, to be honest. There would be other options in terms of bloody mess, by the way. You could go for tormentor. This was something I considered, but didn't really feel like the situation where it could be useful was all that plentiful. Most of the time, since we're stealthy, we don't really have to worry about being overrun by an enemy, so therefore crippling their limbs wasn't all that important. Obviously you could go for serendipity or ricochet just to give yourself a little bit more survivability. Quick hands, I don't really think it was necessary here. Four leaf clover, we don't need it for a simple reason that yeah, we can't get more crits than we do anyways. And yeah, obviously you can always go for class streak, but there isn't just any mutation that we have at the moment that really gives us any significant negative. So yet again, this wasn't really necessary. So ultimately I went with Bloody Mass, which just gave me a little bit more damage, even though it's not a world. Yeah. Ultimately you saw we were good doing the video with Super Duper, so yeah. And just because we had 15 luck in order to get up to our 23 luck overall, that left us with one more perk point, which I didn't really know what to spend for. You could obviously go for Curator just to give you a little bit of a longer buff from magazines or bobbleheads if you happen to be someone who uses them. I went with rank 1 of Luck of the Draw, just giving me a little bit more long going when it comes to the weapon, so little repair every now and then. Doesn't do the world, but in terms of a 1-star, 1 perk point investment, I think this card here can definitely be worth it. Nothing really else that we could use here otherwise. And lastly, we're going to take a look at our legendary perks. So as you can see here, very straightforward and boring. We do have 5 perks that are boosted by our legendary perks. Agility, luck, intelligence, perception and endurance. Not a lot to talk about here, just giving us access to more perk points, as always. Legendary luck. Obviously this should be maxed out. This should have to be your priority if you really want to go down the route of doing this character. What this allows you to do is getting away with way less armor pieces that have extra luck, and that means you can have something better like, for example, AP refresh. And arguably the most important build perk here, follow through, 40% multiplicative damage to stealth targets after the first hit. We're gonna take that. Basically the carrier for the whole perk build. So this was it. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. I'm really sorry that I was a bit all over the place during the talking part of the video. But yeah, it's quite a complicated matter, to be honest. The Stalker's effect is just so riddled with problems and possibilities. I really didn't want to say anything wrong just because it's such a notorious perk, and what was important for me is not to say that Stalkers is a good effect. That's basically the important thing for me. I wanted to say that you can enjoy the build, but I wanted to do it in a way so that no one thinks Stalkers is in any way powerful or anything. It has its uses, and after all, I can advise you to just try it. You can get very good Stalker weapons for very cheap because they're considered grip weapons. And yeah, on this occasion I was really lucky, by the way, just because yeah, if you're going for a Stalker's effect, I think this was basically the perfect combination of legendary effects. Doesn't really get better here, just because yeah, if you want to go down for a maximum precision, extra bats hit chance on top of that, okay, we'll take that. And since you're primarily using VATs, having more crits, also nice, we're gonna take that with us. maybe I'm gonna fool around and use this on a low health build, just to see what the absolute maximum is when it comes to precision. But yeah. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and see you next time with a, well, probably a bit more serious build.